Brotatoes, what's up? It's Darkmech here, and today we're having a look at one of the new dungeons in Legion, the Darkheart Thicket, or it is just called Darkheart Thicket. The idea behind these sort of overviews, I suppose, is for anyone on beta at the moment looking to have a go at tanking that might be a bit apprehensive, or for any of you looking to roll tanks in Legion that have always wanted to have a go but are a bit worried about people being assholes to you and things like that. Hopefully these can serve as a bit of a reference point. Now I know that it's beta at the moment and things are subject to change, but the 5-man content is playing out pretty smooth at the moment and I don't think a lot will change. The number tuning might change, some things may get easier and harder, but the mechanics boss-wise and things like that I think will pretty much remain the same. So I'm just going to skip all the trash and I'm just going to give you boss overviews in each of the dungeons. I think that'll be a little bit more interesting and that's really all we care about. We don't care about trash. So the first boss is Druid Gladelus. Now he has 4 abilities in total. Now the first ability I'm going to talk about is called Grievous Leap. Now Grievous Leap, he leaps through the air at an enemy and then he leaps back to the tank. When he leaps, he'll leave a bleed called Grievous Tear. Now Grievous Tear is a dot that ticks for 3 seconds and it won't vanish or go off you or whatever you want to call it until you're healed over 90%. So a dot that ticks for 3 seconds until you're healed above 90%. The next ability is called Nightfall, and you can see that red goobly goo swirly shit on the ground. The pro tip is for Nightfall that you just don't want to stand in that swirly shit, and that is about it. The last ability I'm going to talk about, and he just did it there, is called Primal Rampage. Now this is, as a tank, this is your active mitigation ability. Primal Rampage is a frontal cone knockback. What he'll do is he'll knock you back, he'll then turn into a bear and he'll charge you. If anyone else is standing in the way of that, it will also knock them back. And tanks, as I said, you just want to use your AMS here. DBM already has some stuff out and you can see it'll spam up on the screen there to use your active mitigation or defense, sorry. It doesn't do a hell of a lot of damage, but it is where you want to use your active mitigation on this fight. And that is pretty much it for Archdruid, guys. A pretty easy fight, you're not going to have too many issues with it. The story through Darkheart Thicket is actually quite cool. All of the dungeons so far have been really good. Legion is so far really living up to what I hoped it would be, and it's been pretty crazy. I've had about 4 hours sleep, and I've just been absolutely pouring myself into this game at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying the Demon Hunter. Second up on our list, guys, is Oakheart, the Tree of 1,000 Puns, and I'll be sure to go back and put some of his puns across the screen as I make this. He's got 4 abilities in total. The first ability is Shattered Earth. He shatters the ground around him, which inflicts nature damage and knocks people back. Now, I'm not mentioning any of the percents or the amounts of damage that you get dealt, because as I said, it will all most likely be tuned. They have stated they haven't done a lot of the tuning yet, so I'll leave them out, but the abilities I imagine will stay the same. Next up is Strangling Roots. Roots will emerge under nearby enemy players, or players for us. They do damage every 1 second and root you in position until they are killed. So obviously if you get rooted, you just want to make sure that you're killing them, otherwise you'll be rooted in place for 1 minute and having damage done to you. Next up is Nightmare Breath. You can see just cast it there. As the name suggests, it's a frontal cone breath attack. It inflicts fire damage and leaves a dot, which also does fire damage every 2 seconds for a 6-second period. And again, you want to make sure you're using your active mitigation here, tanks, your AMSs and things like that, or Empower Wards if you're on a Demon Hunter. The last ability is called Crushing Grip, where he picks you up and inflicts nature damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. He'll then throw his target to the ground, inflicting damage to anyone in that area. So tanks, when you get picked up, you want to make sure that you're using an active mitigation. It does do a fair bit of damage to you. Demon Hunters can use Demon Spikes when they are picked up. You can't use Fiery Brand though. And again, there'll be sort of a grey swirly pool of shit on the ground as to where he is going to throw you. And you just want to try and avoid that. And that is pretty much it for this boss, guys. Again, not going to have too many problems at all. I think you can actually avoid the Strangling Roots. I obviously haven't had them on me before, so I can't comment. But I'm pretty sure that they just are red circles that'll appear on the ground, and you can actually move out of the way of them. So if that is the case, obviously you don't even want to waste time DPSing them and killing them. You just don't want to stand in them if that is the way it works. The third boss in here, and if you are going to have any issues in this instance, it is going to be on this boss here, Dressarion. He is a little bit buggy at the moment in beta. Obviously, when he hits live, he'll be a lot smoother, I imagine. But if you are going to have any problems, it is going to be on this boss. And I should also mention that this boss is skippable, and that will definitely become the thing to do, I imagine, as the game progresses. But as we start Legion, of course, everyone is going to be doing all the bosses, I would imagine. So Dressarion has 3 abilities. The first one is the Breath of Corruption, which is, again, as stated, it's a frontal breath. It causes nature damage every 1 second for 2 seconds. It reduces the armor of anyone that is hit by 5% for 6 seconds. However, at the moment, it will just completely one-shot you at the moment if you get hit. Or it will come very close to one-shotting you. So I'm not sure if that'll get tuned down slightly for live or if they'll leave it that way. The next ability is called Downdraft, where, as you can see, he will push you back towards all the eggs on the outside of the room. Now, if you are close into the boss, you're not going to have any problems when this comes back up. The further you are away, the stronger that draft is. And as you can see, there are all those eggs on the outside of the room. If you get knocked into the eggs, it very much becomes like a Nixia and the Whelp situation. Many Whelps minus 50 DKP kind of situation. Only if you do, the Whelps go down pretty quickly. Just make sure you move them to the tank, otherwise the tank will be running everywhere trying to get them. You have to watch the breath and things like that. The last ability is Earth Shaking Roar, where he does a big roar, where you can see here. He shakes the ground, it causes damage to anyone near him, and he causes the roof to cave in. Now, the rocks will one-shot you if you get hit by them at the moment. Again, I'm not sure if that'll stay the same when it goes into live or not. It is actually cool, though, having a boss where you do have to pay attention. There was a few instances where I was paying cap just because I was paying attention for what was coming up next and things like that, because it is a boss that you can quite easily die on if you're choosing to not pay attention. But that is pretty much it. As I said, whether or not they'll leave it that way for live or not will be another thing. And as a demon hunter, leaping out of the way of the falling rocks usually works really well, though a couple of times I found I got clipped and knocked down to low health, even though I was gone well before they were up. So sometimes it may just be safer to actually strafe out of those rocks, but nevertheless, it's quite fun jumping around. So that is Dressarion, guys. The last boss in this instance is the Shade of Xavius. He has 4 abilities in total, and once you've got past Dressarion, pretty much everything is easy. So 4 abilities in total for Shade. The first one I'm going to start talking about is the Nightmare Bolt. So he launches a bolt of nightmare energy, inflicting shadow damage, which applies a debuff called Waking Nightmare. Now, Waking Nightmare, the target is trapped in a Waking Nightmare and silenced and pacified unless they are standing near an ally. So if you get Waking Nightmare, you have to be sure that you are standing near somebody. Feed on the Weak consumes an enemy's soul, inflicts shadow damage every 1 second for 5 seconds, so not too much to worry about there. Growing Paranoia or Inducing Paranoia, Blizzard have it down as Growing Paranoia now. DBM and Wowhead has it as Inducing Paranoia, so we'll just cover both off. The same abilities, I'll just say both names. Enemies affected take shadow damage and are horrified for 5 seconds if they are standing close to any friendly players. So pretty much if you get Growing or Inducing Paranoia on you, make sure you GTFO out if you are targeted with that. And as to what it'll be called when it goes to live, I don't know. He's just done an ability now called Apocalyptic Fire, and you can see all these red swirly things on the ground. I'm not sure what percent he cast that at, sorry, I really wasn't paying attention. He'll erupt with fire though, cause damage to nearby enemies, and he'll rain down fire for the rest of the fight. As you can see all this red swirly shit coming down now, and you just want to avoid standing in it. When he casts Apocalyptic Fire, he will get a buff called Apocalyptic Empowerment, which will increase all his damage done by 5%. So in the last phase of the fight, he is going to be hitting harder. It's certainly not a huge issue though, but just be aware for that for your active mitigation and things like that, that in that last phase of the fight, he will be hitting 5% harder. So that is pretty much it, guys. That's the Darkheart Thicket. Hopefully it gets a few more of you interested in having a go at tanking, and a few of you waiting for Legion to go live, keen to get into tanking and get into these dungeons. I'll keep making the guides, as I said, going over the bosses and hopefully just giving you a look at the new dungeons. And that's pretty much it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to make while I'm on the beta realms. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks, guys. See ya.